Hi there, my name's Toby, and I'm going to teach you the basics of editing your podcast together. So podcasts are an incredible medium for sharing your stories and interesting conversations, but if your audio quality is lacking, then people aren't always going to stick around and listen to what you have to say, and that's why it's so important to edit your audio to make sure that you get the best out of it, make it sound as clear and professional as possible. So today I'm going to be showing you how to do everything in a program called Adobe Audition, but you can apply these techniques that I'm showing you to almost any audio editing software that you've got. A really popular option is a piece of software called Audacity, which is totally free to use and great for people who are just starting out. So in this tutorial, I'm going to cover how to import your audio, set up a new project, how to clear up your audio and remove any background noise that you might be encountering, how to balance the volume between two voices, making those voices sound more present using processing techniques such as EQ and compression, cutting out bits of audio you don't want in the final product, cutting down music for musical stings and intro and outro music, and then also exporting your audio ready to upload to your podcast service of choice. So let's get started. This here is Adobe Audition. As you can see, not much going on at the moment. So let's start by setting up a new multi-track session. And a multi-track session basically means that every bit of audio gets its own separate track. I'll show you what I mean. So let's call this podcast episode 1. You can see here that every kind of track has its own lane up here. And this is great for podcasts because it means that each voice has its own special track. So when you're editing, if you're working with loads of different speakers, it's much easier to keep a track of where everybody is. So we can't edit a podcast without any audio. So let's go up to File, Import, and we're going to import some files. So I'm just going to open up my recordings. So I'm going to need these 3 here. So I've got 2 voices, Alex's voice, Louise's voice, and then I've got some music in there as well. So once I've opened the files, you can see they've been imported to this files bin up here in the top left corner. And once they've been imported, I can drag them into my project. If you see this sort of thing pop up, doesn't match the sample rate of the session, just click OK. It will make a copy of the file in the correct format. Drag in Louise's, do the same thing. It's always a good idea to keep your project organized as well. So I'm going to label my tracks with the name of each speaker. So just if I click track 1 up here, it will allow me to change the name. I'm going to type Alex and Louise. So let's have a little listen to what this sounds like straight out the gate.
I have to ask, who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted
Yeah.
the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see, he has his own chair. He sits next to me.
I
Yeah.
didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
Okay, so it's sounding pretty good, but there's a few things that I notice on first listen. So the volume between the 2 speakers are quite different. So Alex's microphone sounds much quieter than Louise's, and you can kind of see that represented visually as well. Just by looking at the waveforms on screen, you can see that Louise, when she talks, we've got these big kind of peaks up here. And when Alex speaks, everything is kind of staying quite quiet, not very many kind of huge peaks like there are on Louise's track. On Alex's microphone as well, compared to Louise's, it also sounds a little bit kind of dull and muffled compared to Louise's. Louise's microphone sounds a lot brighter than Alex's, but we can kind of listen to that here.
Puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
He is beautiful, and he is very much a part of the...
It just sounds a little bit brighter, Louise's microphone. And also I can hear a little bit of background noise just kind of in the background on Louise's track. But luckily these are all very easy fixes, and I'm going to show you how to do them. So without further ado, let's get our audio sounding as good as possible, and then we can start cutting it all together. So the first issue is the volume. Now this is a really easy fix. We can either do this by taking Alex's microphone up, or just turning Louise's microphone down until we find something that sounds good. In Adobe Audition, we've got these 2 kind of volume like dials up here. There's also a separate mixer section as well, which does the exact same thing, but just for the ease of use and just so that we're all on the same screen, we're just going to do it with these little volume dials on the side here. So we'll have a little listen and then we will just adjust accordingly. I'd say what you probably want to do is always take the loudest person down in volume rather than the quietest person up in volume. And that's just so we don't kind of amplify any kind of background, background noise or anything like that. It's much easier to take the volume down than add volume. We can always add volume later once we've kind of cleared everyone's audio up. So we'll just have a quick listen and we will adjust Louise's volume accordingly.
Who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted.
Yeah.
The Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see. He has his own chair. He sits next to me.
I didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good to me. Taking it down by about 5 dB makes it sound a little bit more balanced. So let's move into the job of kind of clearing up our audio and making it sound as good as possible. Now, we're going to do this in 3 stages. The first one is gating. The second one is compression. And the third one is equalization. And we'll take it through step by step. But just to kind of give you a visual representation, I'm going to double click on Louise's audio. And that loads it up into this view here. Now, this is exactly what we see on our multi-track view. But it's just a little bit more kind of, it's just bigger, easier to see what's going on. And you can kind of see things in a little bit more detail. So let's get on to the job of clearing up our audio. Now you can kind of see in the bits where Louise isn't talking, so where these kind of big peaks on the waveform are, we've got a bit of background noise in the background. Let's have a listen to that. So not massively noticeable, but if I crank this up, you'll see what I mean. So that's the sort of stuff that we want to get rid of so it's not kind of muddying up our mix. A good way of getting rid of any unwanted background noise is to use something called a noise gate. And luckily, Adobe Audition has one built in. If I go over here to my effects rack, I can click on this little arrow over here, go to amplitude and compression, and it lives inside a effect called dynamics. And it's got this auto gate section on the side here. But what is a noise gate? Well, essentially a noise gate is an audio processor that works to eliminate sounds that are below a certain volume. Basically, think of it as a bouncer on the door of a nightclub, and it's only letting in any sound that's above a certain volume. So a good way to kind of make sure that your gate is working correctly is to try and find a section of audio where your speaker is speaking quite quietly. And I think this kind of section here will do it.
He sits next to me. Yeah.
So on our auto gate, I'm going to turn that on. And then I'm just going to play through and see what it sounds like.
He sits next to me. Yeah. I know.
Okay, so it's sounding good, but you can hear that Louise's voice is kind of cutting in and out, where her voice isn't quite hitting that volume. So I'm going to take this, the threshold down, and the threshold is basically how loud does a sound need to be able to pass through. And the kind of more we turn this down, the more it's going to let in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it from the kind of lowest section until I find something that I'm happy with.
He sits next to me. Yeah. I know. He sits next to me. Yeah. I know. He sits next to me. Yeah. I know.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess around with the release time, and that basically means how long that gate stays open. As you can hear at the moment, it's really quick to kind of cut off. So the more we kind of put this up, the more the less abrupt it's going to be when cutting in and out that sound.
He sits next to me. Yeah. I know. He sits next to me. Yeah. I know.
So that sounded pretty good to me. And then what I can do down here is when I click apply, you'll see on the waveform exactly what that's done. So it's kept all the bits with Louise speaking, but it's kind of taken out a lot of that unwanted background noise in between. You can see it especially around here. There's still a few little clicks and pops that we can deal with later, but apart from that, all good. So the second stage of making our voice sound as good as possible is compression, and this is going to be one of the most useful tools to make your audio sound clearer and more broadcast ready. A compressor is used to basically reduce the dynamic range of your audio track, but what does that mean? Well, essentially the dynamic range is the difference in volume between the loudest parts of your signal and the quieter parts. And a compressor basically squashes this signal by making the quieter parts louder and the louder parts quieter. So this is really useful for podcasts because it means that when people speak, they obviously change volume all the time depending on what emotion they might be conveying, or if there's laughter, that's often a lot louder than when you're just speaking. So a compressor is good for kind of making sure that everything is at the same volume all the way through. So in the same way as we did the noise gate, I'm going to load up a dynamics process just down here. And this time I'm going to click on compressor. Now for vocals, you always want to have a ratio of about 4:1. And the ratio basically just sets how much of the compression you want it to do to your audio signal. So I find for vocals, a ratio of around 4 is great. So I'm just going to loop a little bit of audio. And then what I'm going to do is, and you can see as I bring this threshold down, it's going to start to compress that audio signal. So we can take it down.
It's beautiful, and he is very much a part of the by-from team.
And you see if I take it all the way down, it's doing loads and loads of that reduction and compressing the signal loads. But what I want to do is basically just take this down, so we're just getting a few bars, a few red bars in this section up here.
He is beautiful, and he is very much a part of the by-from team. Yeah.
So yeah, that's sounding pretty good to me. So I'm just going to click apply again, and you'll see what this does to our audio signal. It's quite dramatic. So it's taken all of that and it's squashed it down, so you can see now that everything's at a much more even volume. The final kind of stage of this is going to be some EQ. EQ basically stands for equalization. Now you might remember those big EQ units from those old school hi-fi systems. But basically what an EQ does is it shows you your audio signal across a range of frequencies, and then it allows you to boost or cut the volume of a certain frequency. So if I load up a equalizer here and I hit play,
this is Ted.
You can see that this kind of blue little waveform here is our audio signal, split across all the frequencies that we can hear. So this kind of lower section down here is where a lot of those bassier sounds come from. The mids is where obviously a lot of the voice lives, and then the high frequencies up here is what makes your audio sound brighter, makes it sound more present. So we're going to do a little bit of EQ. The first thing I tend to do is something called a high pass filter, which basically takes out any of the bass information, and I'm going to keep that at around 50 hertz. Human beings, we can't really hear any sound that's below kind of 40 hertz, so it's a good idea to cut these out. Otherwise, you might notice that your final mix sounds a little bit muddy. So let's just listen to that. Make sure we're not cutting out too much.
This is Ted the Cavapoo.
Sounds good to me. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in a little bit of brightness. So up here is our kind of high frequencies, our high shelf. And I'm just going to push that up, see what it sounds like.
This is Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see, he has his...
So I'm going to just kind of flick between it back and forth to make sure that I like what I'm hearing.
This is Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see, he has his own chair.
That sounds good to me. And then finally, I'm just going to do a little bit of reduction at around the 300 mark. So I'm just going to type in 300 hertz here. And this is where a lot of kind of that boxiness or kind of like nasal frequencies live. If I add this up, if I turn it up, you'll see exactly what I mean.
This is Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see, he has his own chair. He sits next to me.
So you can hear what I kind of mean when I boost this up.
He is beautiful, and he is very much a part of the Buy From team.
So it just sounds a little bit kind of...
He used to have his own profile.
Resonant, a little bit kind of boxy. So if I take this down just a tad...
On the website, but my daughter got really infuriated and jealous about it, so we had to remove him.
Just sounds a lot kind of clearer, makes it sound less kind of muddy, a little bit brighter. So you can hear what this sounds like with everything applied. So this is kind of before.
This is Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see,
And this is after.
This is Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see, he has his own chair.
So quite subtle, but makes it sound really nice and clear. So I'm just going to hit apply. And that, I think, is Louise done. So I'm going to go back into our multi-track settings. I'm then going to do exactly the same process for Alex. Now, on Alex's mic, I can see there's probably not a lot of background noise. He's got, I think, a slightly more professional setup, shall we say. So still a little bit of background noise, so we will just go into our dynamics, do that auto gate one more time, and we're going to have a little mess around with the settings.
I didn't realise the little puppy next. Well, not a little
So
puppy.
you can see that's cutting out way too much, so we're going to take the threshold down even more.
I didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
And then we'll just find another section where Alex is speaking quite quietly. I can see this bit at the end.
I love it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic stuff. I have to ask, who's the... I love it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic stuff.
And again, we'll just open that release a little bit more so it's not as quick to cut in and out. And then once that's done, we'll hit apply. Next step, once again, is going to be compression. We'll go back into our dynamics. Compressor, remember a ratio of 4 for anything to do with voice. And then we'll just find a section of audio and hit play and mess around with this threshold until we're just getting a few of those red lines of gain reduction on our screen.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's got a chair right next to you, a manager's chair. That's crazy. I didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
So yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. So once again, close this and hit apply down here. And that's really compressed it to everything is now the same volume. Excellent. And then finally we'll hit it with just a little bit of EQ, and I'm going to do almost exactly the same thing. I'm going to firstly take out some of the low frequencies. Let's have a little listen.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's got a chair right next to you.
Excellent. Then I'm just going to add in some of those high frequencies.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's got a chair right next to you, a manager's chair.
That's sounding good to me. And then finally, I'm just going to add in... Try and find those kind of boxy frequencies.
That's crazy. I love it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic
Yeah,
stuff.
they're around there.
I have to ask, who...
And then I'm just going to take those frequencies down, and hopefully that's going to make it sound a lot clearer.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's...
And that's sounding pretty good to me, so I'm going to hit apply. Excellent. Now, because we compress things, I want to normalize them and get them back up to the volume that they pretty much were before. In Adobe Audition, it's really easy to do this. You can just go favorites, normalize to 0.1, and it's going to make those as loud as they possibly can without distorting. I'm going to do the same for Louise's. And now we should have two very nice sounding voices.
I have to ask, who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted.
So you can see that volume automation that we did earlier, we probably don't need that there anymore because both of our signals should now be pretty evenly balanced.
Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted. Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see.
A Cavapoo.
He has.
Okay, so they're sounding great. Now the next thing we need to do is just have a quick listen through to this. And what we want to do is just make sure that we're taking out bits where people are kind of speaking over each other. If there's any bits of audio that we don't want in our final mix, we can take that out. So we'll have a quick listen through.
I have to ask, who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted. Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see.
A Cavapoo.
He has his own chair.
Okay, so there's a section here where Alex is just talking over what Louise is saying. So what I'm going to do is up here in my tools bar, I've got the razor tool. And basically this just allows me to click on a section and basically cut it out. Once I've razored it, you can see that I can move this around without moving the entire track around. And then if I just hit the backspace, then it gets rid of it for me. And I can press play, and then Alex won't be speaking over this anymore.
This is Ted. Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see. He has his own chair. He sits next to me.
I didn't realise you had a little puppy next.
And same here with this kind of, I'm just going to razor it, take that out.
I didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
He is beautiful, and he is very much a part of the Buy From team. He used to have his own profile on the...
Same with this little section up here. I can see that there was a kind of sentence that Alex started, but let Louise talk instead, so I'm just going to get rid of that.
A part of the Buy From team. He used to have his own profile on the website, but my daughter got really infuriated and jealous about it, so we had to remove him.
How funny. He's literally got...
And then finally I was going to get rid of this section down here. Another way that you can kind of get rid of it if you don't want to mess around with the kind of razor tool is in Adobe Audition, we've got this yellow line that runs across our track. And this is basically for volume. So rather than cutting something out, we could also just click on this line and it will add in some like points of automation basically. So I can grab some points here, add some points there, and then basically just drag this down and think of it as just someone taking a volume slider and taking it all the way down just for that section and then putting it back up. So you can see now.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's got a chair right next...
It's not there. So the last couple of things to do is we're just going to take out those clicks that our noise gate didn't quite get rid of on Louise's track. And I'm going to use the volume automation just to do that as well. So I'm just going to click, click, take it down. Click, click, take it down. Same here as well. So obviously when that line is up, it's allowing sound through, and when it's down, it's not. So I can just take this bit here. And that should be it.
I have to ask, who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
This is Ted. Ted the Cavapoo. Ted, I don't know if you can see. He has his own chair. He sits next to me.
I didn't realise you had a little puppy next to you. Well, not a little puppy, fully grown dog, but wow, Ted's beautiful.
He is beautiful, and he is very much a part of the Buy From team. He used to have his own profile on the website, but my daughter got really infuriated and jealous about it, so we had to remove him.
How funny. He's literally got... Who's got the better chair? He's got a chair right next to you,
Ted's got the
manager's
better
chair.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Ted's got the boss chair, sits under the Buy From symbol.
I love it. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic stuff.
So that's all sounding pretty good to me. I'm kind of happy with how that's all gone. So, the final thing I want to do, just to kind of package this up into a nice podcast, is I want to get some intro and outro music on there. So I've got this piece of music here, but it's 1.5 minutes long, and really I want to get something that's around the 15-second mark. I don't want this to be too long, because if you've got a really long intro, people might just, lose interest straight away. So I'm going to show you how to take this piece of music and turn it into a short kind of musical sting. So we want to do this away from our kind of our voices. We'll just drag this in. We'll type music over here on our track to keep things organized. And then firstly, we'll just have a little listen through and we'll see what kind of bits we want to take from this. Okay, so I think I like this bit where the drums start to come in, and I like the bit where the flute comes in as well. So first thing I'm going to do is, using the razor tool that we used earlier, I'm just going to cut where those drums start and then get rid of these. And I can see the kind of drums kick in here where this big kind of peak is. So I'm going to cut there. And then I'm going to find the first bit where the flute comes in. This is all a little bit of trial and error, so if this doesn't work straight away, just keep messing around with it until you find something that works for you. So that seems to be where it is, round here. So I'm going to click there as well. Zoom out and get rid of the bit in between. Now, if you want to just quickly, rather than just dragging and dropping everything, a nice little shortcut as well is if you right click in between the two sections and you go ripple delete and then gap, it will just move those two things towards each other and put them together. So let's see what that sounds like now. So I think I want it to end around there. So I'm once again going to use our razor tool, zoom in so we know that we're razoring the right section. And then I'm just going to go to the end of the audio file and I'm going to find a kind of section that I think might work for an ending. So I'm just going to hit play. That's a nice little stab at the end there. So I like this section. I don't think I want to keep these drums in there. So let's try and find where that kind of long sustained note at the end starts. I think it's around here. Yep, so once again, we'll click our razor tool, delete everything in between, and then using that little shortcut from earlier, we'll right click in the gap, ripple delete and gap. Listen to what that sounds like. I think that sounds pretty good, but it is a little bit abrupt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this section over a little bit, and it's going to put a fade in between those two clips. So it's not a hard cut. There's a slow, kind of short fade in between, which will just make it a little bit more subtle, glue it together a little bit nicer. And then I don't like that little stab at the end, so that can go as well. And then let's have a little listen to what this sounds like with those cuts that we made. Sounding pretty good to me. So let's grab these clips. I'm just going to do something as well. I'm going to group the clips together. And that just means that they'll kind of work as one file so that we're not having to kind of click and drag each one individually. So I'm going to move that to the front I'm then going to just drag a box around our audio, and I'm going to put it just as the track ends. And then now we've got a lovely little bit of intro music for our podcast. So now if I hit play,
I have to ask, who's the Cavapoo? Is that a Cavapoo?
and then we've got a nice little intro for our podcast right there. So say that this is our final edit. We're really happy with everything. We've listened through. We've got rid of all the background noise. There's no little pops and clicks. People aren't speaking over each other, which is great. And we've razored out all of the bits that we don't want in our final mix. Now's time to export our final project. So we can just do that by going up to File, Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, and we're going to say the entire session. And then I can just click our file name, call it, podcast episode 1 Mixdown. I'll save it to the desktop. And then here is the kind of bit rate. So the higher this is, the bigger the file size will be, but also the higher quality it will be as well. So just make sure that you're always exporting at the highest quality that you possibly can. Once we've done that, it's just a case of clicking OK, and that's going to export it. So that's it for kind of the basics of editing podcasts. I hope you learned something useful. Have fun and happy podcasting.